talk about, you split from Elvis and you get divorced from Elvis, but you have this little girl, Lisa Marie, and she's your child that you have with Elvis, his only child. What was that relationship like after the divorce between the three of you, would you say?
Well, because when I left, he adored her, and I never wanted to take that away from him. So I made arrangements that on Christmas or holidays or Easter, it was a point that I would send her to Graceland. Of course, the nannies was there with her. I would bring her there. That he had time alone with her. So even in Las Vegas, the same thing. I wanted them, to be close, which they were. And
was he a good father despite all the problems he was having?
He was as good a father as he could be. He was never around children, and it was, growing up. So he really, honestly, when she was smaller, he didn't quite know what to do with her. But as she got a little bit older and a little bit older, and then she could travel, to visit him and be with him for at least 2 weeks, when there was Christmas or Easter or something, then he became closer to her.
His death was something that shook the entire world, but for you and your daughter, it must have been a particularly seismic, shocking moment.
Devastating to get a call. Absolutely devastating. I had just talked to him the night before, actually. And no, 2 nights before. And to get that call, Joe Esposito actually called me and said, Cilla, Elvis is dead. And he was already emotional, and I just yelled, I thought he was kidding. You just never imagine that we would joke around all the time. And then when I found out that, it was true, and I just went to my bedroom and just stayed, and Joe said, send the plane for me, the private plane. And I just stayed in my room and couldn't believe it and cried, and I don't know.
It's interesting, even now, this is 50 years ago, pretty much, nearly.
Yeah.
But it still has a profound effect on you.
I can still hear Joe Esposito's words. Cilla, Elvis is dead. And that was like, I just couldn't imagine him ever, especially, his age and all, being still so young and wanting to do so much and had so much planned, and not having him, not talking to him, not having him be the father of our child. And what, my big fear was Lisa, and how do I tell her? And she was only 9 at the time.
I have a daughter of 11, and I can't imagine a harder conversation to have.
Right.
How did you tell her?
Well, I just told her we were going to Graceland and we were going to go see Daddy, but Daddy won't be, Daddy will be resting. And she just asked me, and she goes, well, resting? I've never actually told this before because it's been hard. But I said, well, he's going to go to sleep for a while. And she goes, will I be able to see him? And I said, yes, you'll be able to see him. You'll be able to see him. And then she sees him. And I don't think she really quite got it, but because she went out in the golf cart and started, she had a little friend, and driving in the golf cart and all around the backyard of Graceland. So it didn't really hit her until later.
I can't even imagine, because it was such a huge story for the rest of the world, but for you, this is real life. This is your man that you love, still love today.
Still love today, yep. He was, like I said, he was unique. He was, his personality was unreal. He was caring. He cared for people. He had, he wondered why him. And there's stories about him. I don't know if you ever heard the story about there was a black woman who was looking at a car on Beale Street, a car dealership, and he was looking, he was just driving around, and he saw her looking in the windows at the new cars that were there, and he said, told Charlie to stop the car. He stopped out and he went over to the woman and he goes, boy, those are nice cars. And he said, oh, yes, sir, they're beautiful. Look at that. And he goes, what one do you like? And she goes, ooh, I like that black one right there. No, that blue one right there. And he goes, really? Yeah, I kind of like that too. So then he takes her in and they go in, see the car. And he says, what do you think? Oh, that's a beautiful car. You'll be good in that car, right? He goes, well, just a minute. He goes and gets the salesman. He says, give me the keys to that car. I'm getting it. And he gives the keys to her. And that was a beautiful blue Cadillac, brand new. That's him. That's what he would do. Anyone in trouble, he'd give them money. Anyone who had, you know, a problem with anything, really, you know, and they couldn't afford it, even with some of the guys who needed medical care, he'd pay for it.
When you've watched Elvis the movie and now Priscilla, and it's made you revisit all of these times that you had with him, do you have any part of you that thinks if only I'd done this, this, or this, things could have turned out differently?
You know, I don't know. I don't think so, because I really, you know, I gave my all to him. You know, I couldn't change his mind. I mean, he was strong-minded.
Well, I think he loved you and you loved him till the day he died, right? And that's clear.
Yes.
It was an extraordinary love story.
He would call me all the time. And it was so funny because whoever he was with, he would usually go into his bathroom to make the phone calls.
Do you remember your last conversation with him?
My last conversation, yes, was when Lisa was coming home, that she needed to come home because school was starting. And Lisa was there during that time. Yeah. That was it.
It's very, I mean, it's very poignant for me to talk to you, who's, in the end, you're a woman that had this extraordinary life and had this extraordinary relationship with this man. But here we are, I think he died in 1977, and here we are in 2023. And I can see the effect he still has on you, just on a personal, human level.
Yeah.
There's nothing tabloid or anything about this. This was a real, visceral love affair between you.
I miss him. I miss him very much.
Yeah.
I miss his words. I miss his love. I miss his laugh. I miss his energy. I miss the fun times. I think, you know, you don't really realize the fun times that you're having until you go back and you look at your albums and your pictures and you go, oh my God, we had so much fun. We did so much. And, you know, it's still there.
Is there a song that whenever you hear it, you think, for whatever reason, there's one song that is... that-
Memories.
Memories press between the pages of my mind.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Press between the pages of my mind. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I don't listen to them songs very often because it just, you know, I go into it, you know, another place. But I know sometimes I'm a little surprised at myself that I still get emotional, and you know, the love is still there.
It's amazing, really. Some people, many people, I think, might go through their entire lives without ever having that feeling.
Well, I think too is because he's so present. He's still so present. He's still so affects people, but he, you know, it's like when I go to Vegas sometimes, you know, I think, my God, you go to the Hilton Hotel, you see these big showrooms, and you go, if people, Vegas has never been the same, I think, and I don't think.
There was only one
there.
Elvis. I mean, there are lots of pretenders to the
Yes.
crown, but there's never been anyone like him
Right, it's so
since
true.
he died.
It's true. You know, in the movie that Sophia did, in which he was angry, you know, with Colonel Parker. And, you know, yes, he was angry, and yes, he threw the chair or whatever, but he would, when he was angry, he would go, especially with Colonel Parker, he would go into that moment, you know, because he just felt that Colonel was, you know, Colonel was really deceiving him in many ways, that He wasn't giving him what he wanted, and yet he would talk behind his back. I mean, Sophia was never making that movie to show the bad side of Elvis. That was a real moment when he was upset with Colonel Parker. And it showed that yes, he had a temper. Yes, that's, what he felt, at that moment. But that didn't mean he was like that all the time, hardly. But he knew what he wanted, and he didn't want, someone to go against him when he knew, and he did. His instincts were absolutely right.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely right. So, people walk out, oh my God, oh my God, no, he was a human being, and he had feelings, and yes, he had a temper. He didn't show it that much, but when he did, he had every reason to.